We're going to talk about the normal curve in this video for our statistics chapter. So the normal curve, we're going to start off with just some basic ideas of other distributions you can have. Usually, again, we end up using the normal distribution for most, but that is not the only one, which is what I want to make sure you're clear on. So the first one is a rectangular distribution. This is where we would have the mean would equal the median, which would equal the mode. The example here would be if you roll a die. As long as we figure that the die is a fair die, every single number we should expect to happen the same amount of times, equally amount of times. So this would be a rectangular distribution because each value we'd expect to have the same exact amount. The second one here is a J-shaped distribution. So based on the histogram, again, over here, you should have noticed I didn't draw it, but that was a rectangle. The J distribution is your exponential problems. So exponential growth, exponential decay. So these happen a lot with populations. They happen with different types of chemicals in a body. So this is actually one that is actually heavily used in later statistics courses because it is actually something that happens a lot in business and in actual nature, different types of problems and studies. So our third one is our bimodal, and remember that means we have two modes, and graphically when we're looking at a histogram that means we have two peaks. So we have two peaks. Now again, these weren't exactly the same, but you can see that they definitely stand out compared to everything else. So there would be something that you would want to know from this. When you see two peaks like this, it actually usually refers to that you might need to look at your data more specifically and maybe break it down to a more specific piece because two things are going on. Example here, if I would take shoe sizes, we would see a peak for the most ordered or most purchased male size and one for the female sizes. So we would actually see two peaks if we put all of the information together. Our next idea then is skewed distributions. So again, remember that like when you collect the data, you actually collect the data first, and then we look at our diagrams, our frequency polygons, and then from there histograms or frequency polygons, and that's to kind of get an idea of what we are expecting for results. So the first three were just different types of distributions. The next idea, skewed distribution, is if we see this happening, what can we use to interpret some ideas? So again, this would be a histogram that you can see. And the thing that people do wrong on this one is it's actually skewed towards the tail. Think about this. If we were to do the mean on this first diagram that's skewed to the right, that mean is going to be pulled towards those outliers, those extreme values that are in the tail on that bottom piece. So it actually modifies where that information is. So that's going to the diagram here on the right. If we have skewed data, remember what I just said. The mean is going to be pulled towards the tail because it's affected by every single value that you plug in. So any extreme values affect it. So remember, and again I'm going to write that down, means are affected by extreme values. Mean is affected by extreme values. Now the other one is easy to fill out because we know that the mode is the most. So that would be the peak. So this would be my mode. This peak would be my mode because that's happening the most. And by default we only have one left, which is our median. But again, this should make sense. Our median is going to be closer to that piece where we have the most, but it's still going to be going to be pulled a little bit towards when we rank the data. So my median, I'm going to put that in a different color. My median is that middle line, which is the red line, and remember that's the ranked data. So we rank it, and it's from smallest to largest, and it's that middle ground with 50% is below and 50% is above. In our skewed data, how will the mean, mode, and median be affected? And that's what we just drew up here. The mean is affected by extreme values. It will always be pulled towards the what I call the outliers, which are the extreme values, the extreme small values or the extreme large values. We saw that when we did our actual measures of central tendency with the fish data. So going to what really the majority of this section is all about is the normal distribution. And this is because this is something that occurs the most in our data sets. And it also makes it easier to actually do some studies with it and interpretations. So the histogram of a normal distribution looks like what's on the right-hand side. It looks like a bell. Okay? So we usually call it's a bell-shaped, but it's smooth when we curve it out. Key piece is that it is symmetric about the mean. So the mean is always in the center. That's really important for the normal distribution. Now, let's tie some other pieces together. If the mean is that middle spot, remember, that's my mode because that's my highest thing. And also if it's ranked data and I have a mean being in the center, that means it's balanced left and right. So that actually also means that this is the median. So when we talk about normal distributions, the mean, median, and mode are the same value. So again, where would we use this? Where would we see this happening? It's the most frequently occurring, but these are some examples. It's like if you were to actually describe the heights, you're going to have some extremes on both ends, but most people are around that average height. And again, I use that word average carefully, but in this case, that would mean the mean, mode, and median. Your weights, IQs, important one if you take statistics is it's actually if I take different data sets of the same information and I calculate the mean for those data sets, it will end up being a normal distribution. That's going to be important later on if you take statistics. So looking at number 5, this is just a relationship because all of these are normal curves. That's what I want you to realize. These are all normal curves because notice that it's got the bell-shaped, its median, mean, and mode are the center, but I want you to understand the distribution. So this is the dispersion, remember what we dealt with in the last section, which was when we talk about the mean, we talk about the standard deviation. So remember the standard deviation is the spread of the data, around the mean. That's my standard deviation, which we calculated in the last sections. So if the data is squeezed together, which is the first diagram, so it's like pulling that mean and median mode taller, that means the spread is small. So that's why you see small standard deviation, because everything is closer together. The middle one is what we would call a normal, typical, and it's a nice distribution there. And on the last one, C, is if you were to take your fingers and your hand and push it down, you would squeeze it down and it would spread the data out. So this data is more spread out. It's more of a flat normal distribution, so there's more in the tails, which is going to make it a larger standard deviation. But I need you to remember, this is always true because my mean, median, and mode are the same for a normal distribution. So my median is defined to be 50% below, 50% above. So we are going to use it related to the mean. That is always going to be true. So if I have my drawing, my normal distribution always starts with the mean in the center. We have 50% on the left. We have 50% on the right. Really important. You're going to definitely use that idea again and again in this section. So next idea, 7th idea in this, is going to be a general rule. If we didn't have charts, which we're going to use charts for most of these problems, but if we did not have charts, there is what's called an empirical rule. And the empirical rule, again, is based on, we still start with that mean. And remember here, mu is my population mean, and sigma is my, so I'm going to write that down. Mu is my population mean. Sigma is my population standard deviation. And so there's a general rule of how we expect our mean and our data to be distributed around the mean. And so the empirical rule says 68% is it within one standard deviation. So that means one standard deviation to the right and one standard deviation to the left. So 60% of the data we expect to be within those datas. 95% will be within 2 standard deviations. So that again is binding it between. So it's not just the 2 parts that I did. It would be that whole piece right there. So it would include that blue part, which was 1 standard deviation, and to go another standard deviation left to right. We expect 95% of the data. And lastly, again, if we go out 3 standard deviations, we are saying 99.7%, which is saying essentially almost every single data set is within that 3 standard deviations. So that would have been this whole piece. Okay. This is all, again, empirical rule, 68% within 1 standard deviation, which is still quite a bit. It's a majority. 95% is in the 2 standard deviations, and 99.7% is within 3 standard deviations. And that should make sense because as we go to the tail, there's less information there. So on D here, we are going to use the empirical rule from above to answer the questions here. And I always want you to draw the picture. So when I'm dealing with every single one of these problems, my mean in this definition is 50. So I'm going to start off every single one by drawing my picture. And this is important. I will require this on the test. Then we're going to look at the problem and say, okay, what does it want us to shade? So this is 40 to 60. We want to know that region here. So we're now going to use the relationship, since we're using the empirical the empirical rule above, and say, okay, 40 to 50 and 50 to 60. Which rule from above does it apply to? Are we looking for 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, or 3 standard deviations, which is what we're using above there? So 10 is my standard deviation, so we went 10 below and 10 above. So we went plus and minus 1 standard deviation to get to these regions, and that is using property from above. That's using rule A. 68% of the data is within 1 standard deviation below and above. So let's look at number 2. Number 2 says between 50 and 60. So I only want that piece. So if I look at the idea again, using my standard deviation is 10, that means I'm going plus 1 standard deviation. I'm not going both directions, but because this is, again, symmetric about the mean, that means using rule A, 60% lies above and below. So if I take 68 and divide it by 2, 34% of it should be above, and 34% of it should be below. So my answer there is 34%. Really important to draw your pictures on these. So 3 says what percent is above 60%? Above 60% here. Well, we just said in number 2, because this was 10 standard it was 1 standard deviation. So we said that this region here was 34%. And what did I say that this whole side was a few minutes ago? 50% of the data is above the mean and below the mean. So this whole piece that I have highlighted in yellow is 50%. I do not want to include that part that is between 50 and 60, so that's 34% that I'm going to subtract off. And so I get 16% is in the tail. I call it the tail because it's the end piece, and that's a piece you've got to be careful on when you're doing these problems. So we're always going to know 50% is above and below. And then we can use the ideas of 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations if they're asking us to use the empirical rule. So 4 says, what is the percent below 30%? And it's really important that you are shading the right area because that gives you the wrong answer if you do not. So that's 20 between that distance. So that means that's 2 standard deviations. So if I look at my rule, I have 95%, but that would have been both directions. So I divide that by 2. That gives me 47.5%. Now be careful. This is the 47.5. 47.5 we subtract off. We subtract off 50%. Because that's the whole piece. This whole thing here is 50%. So we're subtracting off the 47.5, and that's going to give me my tail, which is 2.5%. So you can always use 50% is above and below. You actually can use that the whole region is 100% as well. Because it's symmetric about the mean, the empirical rule can be used as it actually is written, or you can divide by 2 to find one side of that piece.